On this week's podcast, I am talking with my friend, my editor, and fellow licensed Reiki master teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training, Karen Caig. Karen is one of my favorite people in the world, and she recently wrote an article about courage and entitled Courage, Reiki's Unexpected Gift. So I asked her if she would talk to us about that today. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for having me. This is an important topic, especially because we've been talking about your book and how much courage it took for you to publish that. And so I really wanted to dive into this topic because I think a lot of people don't really have a clear understanding of what true courage is. And it wasn't until I started thinking about what true courage is, and then two, how does Reiki help bring that out?
Right.
That I thought this is something that I need to talk with people about. In fact, I think I'm going to use this topic to launch in the fall a life coaching program for women like me and you, women who have overcome things to follow their true courageous path, because we have a lot of gifts. We have things to give, but we get in our own way, things that hold us back from contributing our gifts that we came here to this world to give.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can have a good discussion about that today.
Oh, thank you, Karen. I know we can. We're going to step into it. But first, I just wanted to let everyone know some of the things that we have going on at the farm. Of course, you can pick up the Reiki Business Book from Amazon.ca or .com, from several retailers in the United Kingdom and Australia, as well as the United States and Canada chapters. And you can also order it through libraries. So if it's something that you'd like to have, but you can ask your library to bring it in for you. And I'll have a list in the podcast of all the places you can get that book. So if you're at all in a place where you'd either like to blend Reiki with a career that you're already doing and that you're already passionate about, or if you'd like to begin a separate career with Reiki, I'd encourage you to pick up that book. It did take a lot of courage to put that out into the world, Karen, and a lot of work as my editor. Some of the other things that we have going on here is next week I'll be teaching online and in person a Karuna Reiki class right here at the farm, and it is not too late to register. If you register on Sunday, you can join us. It's 9 a.m. Atlantic time. We also have an animal communication class Thursday and Friday next week, and it's both online and in person here at the farm. It is also in the Atlantic time zone. And that's going to be the last time I'm teaching it in this time zone until October. I am teaching it later in the summer, but in the Australian time zone. So do join us if animal communication is on your wish list.
Pam, is that Thursday and Friday the second and third, or is it Wednesday and Thursday the first and second?
It should be Thursday and Friday,
okay,
Karen.
Because I have several people who are interested in that, and I think I wrote the dates down wrong. Sorry.
Not at all. I just know that it's got to be Thursday and Friday because I'm teaching Monday to Wednesday, Karuna.
Okay.
So it is the Thursday and Friday. Sorry.
Good. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do have several people that are interested in the animal communication course. So
it's a great course, and it is the second and third. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Friday the second and third. And also, guys, just if you are interested, if you're in Asia or Europe or even in North America and don't mind getting up a little bit early, I do have the Reiki Membership Association classes. That means that we're teaching level 1 and 2 followed by masters. And when you take level 1 and 2 and masters from a licensed teacher, you can qualify to become a professional member of the Reiki Membership Association. So I am teaching that in an Asian friendly time zone. It's evenings in Asia and it's mornings for us here in North America. It begins July 16th, and I guess it's that same evening, July 16th, in Asia. And in Europe, it's actually a lovely time zone because it is a little later in the morning and it's a little bit shorter day. So it's over, instead of being over 5 days, it's over 7 days. So that begins on my birthday, July 16th, and it goes until July 22nd. And then July 23rd to 25th, and then again the 25th to 28th, there's some very special animal Reiki classes. I'm going to be hosting those classes on Campobello Island, and we will be going out to see the whales and the puffins and the seals and the
Cool.
razorbills. And it's really interesting. I finally did talk to the captain who runs the whale watching operation on Campobello Island, which is a beautiful little island just off the coast of Maine. It's about 2.5 hours drive from Bangor. And you can also get to it through Canada from a ferry ride, or you can travel across land through St. Stephen, through Maine, and back to Campobello. It's about an hour from St. Stephen, New Brunswick. And that particular class, that island is magical, but the whale watching tour actually picks us up just about a 5-minute walk from our house, like from where we're going to be doing the class. So it's going to be really special. And if you do decide to come to that class, give yourself some extra time to check out Franklin Roosevelt's summer home. And it's an international park. It's absolutely free to attend. And there's also an award-winning golf course. There's hiking trails. So really would love to have you join us for that special animal Reiki class. There's both level 1 and 2, the 23rd to 25th, and then the master class, the 25th to 28th. So the master class starts with a whale watch, and the level 1 and 2 ends with a whale watch tour. So hopefully you can join us for that. Karen, what do you have coming up? You've got a lot of great classes, and then tell us a little bit more about this class.
I teach generally, you can just go to my website, Reiki-Institute.com, and I teach Reiki 1 and 2, Reiki Master, Animal 1 and 2, because I had the best teacher in the world, Pam, and Animal Reiki Master every month. And then I'm adding in a Karuna Reiki in August.
Mm-hmm.
And in September, I'm going to probably do it as a group, a very small group coaching program beginning in September to help women uncover their authentic self, their true purpose, and do some exercises and some work that we won't necessarily have to be Reiki practitioners. Of course, Reiki always helps, but I'll do some work to help move them toward their fulfilling their life purpose, what they really want to do.
I love that. Uncovering their true courage and their true passion. And
yes, because it's hard to get to if you grew up. I think it's true. It's true for most people, and not just women. So much conditioning we talk about in our Holy Fire classes, that culturally created self, that it's difficult to find our authentic self and what we really want to do, and then have the courage to go pursue that. That's difficult.
It really is, right? Putting that book out was one of the hardest things I've
done. But people need it. They needed it.
They did. And that's what kept me going. That kept me motivated. And I would hear from people like, is your book ready yet? I really need it. And it really kept me going. It kept me motivated. And I wish I had a physical copy so that I could hold it up and show the people on video. But mine hasn't arrived yet. I've heard from people that have copies, and I don't have mine yet. So we're going to we have a link to your email address as well as your website on the podcast notes. And so I'm just going to encourage people to go in and click and maybe connect with you and sign up for your newsletter so that they can stay in touch, particularly about this course if they're ready to uncover their courage. I think that would be fantastic, Karen. Before we start, I'm just going to invite everybody to activate their Reiki, and we'll just start with a small invocation, and then from there we'll go into this. So I just invite you to bring your hands together in Gasho with your thumbs at your heart. And just recognizing that there is duality on this earth that we inhabit, and duality is the existence of both love and fear. And that they do not coexist in the sense that where there is fear, it is difficult to experience love completely and fully. And in today's podcast, we're using the vehicle of courage with Karen's assistance to align ourselves with the love and move past and release or go around the fear that would block us from accomplishing our life purpose. Go ahead and activate your Reiki energy and invite all of the symbols that you have today to assist you in this purpose. And we activate all of the chakras so that you can listen with every part of yourself, with your eyes, your heart, your mind, with your courage. And we invite the light of your authentic courage to flow through you now, to assist you in uncovering your true purpose. We invite the Reiki energy to help you listen to the parts of the podcast that are important and pertinent to you. And the light of courage to assist you in moving forward from here. As always, we thank you for being with us today, and thank you for being the bright light that you are in the world, and thank you for stepping into your own authentic courage, for taking your place in the great awakening that is happening on the planet as we speak. Ahomatakwe oasin. Namaste and Amen. Ashe. Shalom. And so it is. Thank you. Karen, tell me what motivated you to write this article and what courage means to you.
Honestly, it was a question that Kathleen Johnson asked me about how courage is an unexpected gift of Reiki, and how it's an unexpected side effect. And that really got me thinking about, because I wanted to know like what to say. And I thought, okay, so I guess that is true. So I started to look back at my life, and I thought, well, so what is courage? Because Pam, you and I were talking about how both of us, many people think, oh, you're so courageous because you work with horses and the things that we've done. We're both very adventurous. I've done things that people go, whoa, you're not afraid of anything. But when I really stopped and thought about it, I've mentioned a couple of things in the the article. One, like snorkeling and going into a cave that my friend had pointed out, and without thinking, most of the things where people say, oh, she's so courageous, or like going to being the first person to go to college. I think you were too, right? And people say, oh, you're so brave. And I realized that most of the things other people interpret as being brave or courageous, I did either out of stupidity, just just sheer curiosity. I'm like, wonder what that is. Not really any thought to it, or it was out of maybe just three things. The two that I really focused on were, I did them out of a need to survive. Those sorts of things. I'm sure you've done some brave things with horses where you did it because you had to, or as a mother, the things you do as a mother, for example, you don't think, you just jump, and it's just like an instinct. So that's not really courage. I thought it was, not really. And then the other things were things I did to get attention, to get love, to get admiration, so that people would say, oh, look at Karen, isn't she so brave? And when I'm being honest with myself. And so when I peeled all that back, and I thought, what things have I done that weren't motivated by fear, or fear, just fear, right? Fear for my life, or fear that people weren't going to love me. And I realized that the things that I have done that have truly shaken me to my core happened after I did Reiki in 2012. And so I thought, oh, and then I dug in. Of course, I'm a former English professor and I love words. So I started thinking about the word courage, and the root of the word courage is from the Latin cor. So in Spanish, you get corazón, or I think in French it's cœur. I don't know. Do you speak French?
Oui.
Is it? Yeah. Je ne parle pas français. I don't speak French. So it's heart. So it's things that are done from your heart, not from fear, or it's something that you do because it's what your heart is telling you to do. Wow. And so then I went into thinking about, so how does this work? Why does Reiki empower us to do things that we don't do before Reiki? You know, I think just about every Reiki practitioner can go. You have your before Reiki and after Reiki. That's how you divide your life. Because
I think I laugh at the fact that I was never going to teach.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, there you go. Or write a book. That's teaching on a much bigger level, because you really listen to your heart. So at the beginning of your book, when you were talking about being in Heathrow Airport and all that fear, and so Reiki is something that you gave yourself Reiki, and that's when you can hear your heart. So in the article, I broke it down. I thought about it, and I thought, okay, so you've got really like 3 steps. The way this works is first, you have to let go. I had to let go of all the voices in my head telling me what I should do if I wanted to get attention, if I wanted to get love. I had to let go of all of the yuck. Or so Holy Fire people would talk about. I had to really let go of this culturally created self, and I had to start feeling my feelings. So the first part of the process is that letting go. And then I thought about my clients and how they release. Sometimes they're on the table and I don't know why I'm crying, because they're just releasing that cage that they've put around their heart. They begin to release, and those emotions begin to flow. So that really is the first step to courage, is crying. It's letting you have to feel. So that's the first step. And that's what Reiki helps us do. It helps peel off all of that yuck. And then the second step is to listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to, once you get rid of all the other voices, not that like I have multiple personality disorder, but you know what I'm talking about, that inner critic voice, once Reiki helps get rid of that. And once you have that silence, then you can hear. I said, I didn't follow my heart because I didn't know what my heart wanted. I was such a people pleaser. I mentioned in the article that I am an empath, and many Reiki practitioners are. I'm a highly sensitive person. I grew up in a really violent alcoholic home. I said, I can tiptoe around a volatile situation with the grace of a deer. It's true. But what happens when you do that, you're so focused outward on everybody else that your true heart, it has to just sink. What I really feel, I didn't have time to feel what I was feeling. I had to either act, intervene in the violence, or I had to do other things, not what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So once you clear all that and then you start to listen, then you can hear, I think I want to write a book. I don't think I want to teach English anymore. I said, that was the bravest thing I ever did. In fact, I was just talking with my friend last night, and she said, I didn't want to tell you. She didn't read my article either. I was like, I already wrote about that. She said, I didn't want to tell you. I really thought you were nuts. She said, I'm so glad you're happy now. Because it was 5 years ago, I quit my job. I just quit. Wow. Flat out. So I'd been taking care of my mom. I took care of my dad. He died. I took care of my mother. She died in February of 2017. My only child graduated from high school in May of 2017. Wow. And I'd paid off my debts. I had an old car. My son had an old car, but they were paid off. And I did. I just quit my job because it was sucking the life out of me. I love teaching. And I know that's what I'm here to do, is to teach. But it was the grading of the essays and the administrative stuff. And like, I love teaching people who want to learn. And unfortunately, the education system in the United States isn't always all about that. It's more about measuring test scores and stuff like that. So it was sucking my soul dry. And I needed to leave, but I was too scared. But so I had been working with Reiki at that point for 5 years. Isn't that interesting? For 5 years. And I listened and I heard jump. Even though my friends were like, you're going to do what? You're sure? And I said, even my brother, and my brother is my rock. He's been my rock through my entire life. And even he didn't say what, but he didn't say anything. And that was scary. Okay. He didn't say good for you or are you nuts? But, and my son said, Mom, if you keep teaching for the University of Arkansas system, I can get tuition half price. I'm like, I know, but you know what? I can't. I just can't do it anymore. And so what I'm trying to communicate here, probably ineffectively, is that I was meeting a lot of resistance to what my heart was telling me to do. A lot of resistance. And Pam, you were telling me about a very risky thing that you did when you were with the government and when you were pregnant. And why don't you share that story? Because that's what I'm talking about.
I guess it was similar in a way, Karen. The government made a very poor decision, and I was president of the Institute of Agrologists, which is our scientific association, and we had a code of ethics that said that people's safety and the interest of the public had to come first above even our employer, and it was specific to that. And even if it didn't have that code of ethics, it's also how I felt. But the government made a very bad decision. They were getting rid of 198 out of 212 positions. It was announced on Wednesday that people were coming in to do the separations and stuff on the following Monday. And I was 7 months pregnant with our son, and I had to, my heart, and we had just bought this farm, and we were mortgaged. We were in debt up to our eyeballs. And I had to, as the president of the Institute, I had to step in and have a press conference and say, this is a very bad decision. This puts a lot of people's safety at risk. And there's a reason that we had a Department of Agriculture in this province. And I was one of the I was one of the 12 people that wasn't losing my job.
That's why your voice needed to be heard.
Perhaps, yeah. I was one of the ones that wasn't losing my job. And my husband, I didn't sleep much that night, and it was it wasn't a difficult decision. I knew that I had to do it, but it was difficult to execute. And it had a lot of moving parts. just getting the press conference together, because we knew that it was going to happen so quickly that there would be no undoing it. It was how it was orchestrated by the government, by my employer at the time. And in the end, I wound up holding it was announced on the Wednesday. I met with my counsel on the Thursday evening until midnight. I met with somebody to help me put together the messaging, because I didn't know anything about how to do that. And the opposition actually helped me. The official opposition helped me. They put together that meeting for me. And then Friday morning, I held a press conference with a couple of the members of my council, with my 7-month pregnant belly there in the news. My neighbors said, "Oh, you were on the front page of the newspaper. You're not going to like the picture." I cut it out for you, but you're not going to like it. And I laughed. I really could care less about my pregnant.
Because you followed your heart.
Because I followed my heart. And I remember very clearly at 5 o'clock in the morning here at the farm, this was in the year 2000, and we had just bought the farm, and this was April of 2000. We had just bought it August of 1999. And my husband, 5 a.m., I get up to go in and get things ready for the press conference. And my husband said, "Do you really have to do this? Because I would be blacklisted, and this is a very small province. It would be very difficult for me going into a maternity leave with a new baby. It was going to be very difficult for me to find work here once I was blacklisted for doing this." And he said, "Do you really have to do this?" The night before we went to bed, and I said, "Yes, I really have to." And the morning when I got up to go in, he said, "I understand." He said, "I know you really have to do this." He said, "We'll figure it out." We weren't going to be able to keep the farm with one salary. In the end, though, I didn't get fired. I wound up with promotion, and we did turn the government's decision around.
Yeah.
And so it was hard. It was one of those things that was really like heart-stopping, difficult to do, and probably one of the things that I'm the proudest of.
That's the thing. So I would invite your listeners to, when they're faced with something or they're thinking of taking some courageous step, to question like why, and to just get quiet and feel in their bodies, and like where do you feel it? And usually it'll be something, either it's something happening like what you're talking about, and they may feel it in their gut, this is just wrong.
I just have to do this.
Or
to do it, I just have to.
Yeah, I have to do this. This is like, it's dear to my heart. Like I said, Reiki helps clear so that you can feel what you really want, I called it that still small voice inside, because it's usually something also that's like, it's not that big of a deal. Like when I was doing Reiki on the side, teaching Reiki on the side, doing Reiki on the side, but I still had my full-time, English teaching position. I go, oh, well, that's just something Karen does. It's not. Right. Or I'm sure you probably got, Pam, is it really that big of a deal? Is it that important? You're just one person. But if there's something that the listeners are thinking about, no, that it may not be important to anybody else but me, and it may look stupid to anybody else, or you may have that voice of, who am I to write a book? Who am I to do that? You have to give.
It was hard to start teaching. It was hard to put yourself out there. It was hard to write a book. It was hard to write the first article.
Yes, but those are the things that are the most courageous. I think that when you have to believe in yourself, that you're just like, no, this is my path. Yeah. And what in the article I said there really were 3 steps. So the first is like to let go and start to feel your own feelings. So one, you even know what it is you want to do, because I was so used to doing what other people wanted me to do, even without them asking. They didn't have to ask. I just knew what would be better for them, or what they wanted, but not me. So you have to clear that, let go, and then you listen. And then the third thing I said, then you lean in, and it's just a process of you let go, you listen, you say, this is it. And so you just lean into it. This is what I'm going to do. And then things are going to come up. It's not like you lean in and then boom, there you go. No. But you're going to hit resistance. And at each thing where you start to doubt or feel that, then you have to go back again and go, okay, I need to let go. I need to feel this fear. I need to feel this shame or whatever it is. That for me, it was shame a lot. Like, I'm not good enough to do that. You have to feel it. You got to really feel it. And then let it go. That's why we have Reiki. So we can Reiki ourselves and sob through it and let that go. And then listen again. Okay, because you're going to hit crossroads. Do I go left? Do I go right? But you don't want to go all the way back to, am I even doing the right thing? And you may. And then you listen and then you lean in. So it's a process like that.
Karen, I know it's simple and I'd like to hear examples from your life, but writing the book, the first book proposal I wrote and submitted to a publisher was a year ago this month, or a year ago June, and you were with me for that. And when I submitted it, I wanted to go throw up. I didn't cry, but I was awfully close. And when I submitted it, I wanted to go throw up. And that, I think, is that leaning in. And it didn't feel comfortable at all. It felt very risky. It felt like I was really putting myself out there. And who do I think I am to write a book? Even though in my heart, I knew it was going to help people, there was still a lot of that doubt. And was anybody ever going to even read it? And all of those things that happen, and yet you do it. And I think sometimes that uncomfortable feeling, that's what tells you it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. Yeah, because I've always heard too, courage is feeling fear and doing it anyway. But it's not that quite that simple. It's really, because it's going to come back again. And it goes up and down. Then you get the book proposal turned in and you're like, I did it. And then you go like, yes, I can do this. Yes. And then you're up here and then something else is going to happen. And you go, oh, what was I thinking? No,
Then I had to write the rest of the book.
Exactly. So I was accepted. Now I got to write it.
And it wasn't accepted by the publisher. And it was such a weird feeling too, because it was like, oh my God, I hope that they accept it. Oh my gosh, I hope they don't accept it.
It's a process. Because I think they think, some people are courageous and some people aren't. No, we're all courageous. We are. And the way to measure it is like, just how true are you being to your heart, to what your heart wants, your heart's desire, following what you know is what you're here for. Because I think we all do once we get quiet and we heal some of that. But I quoted Hemingway. Okay, Ernest Hemingway. Yes, I am American. And yes, I am an English professor. There's a lot of stuff with Hemingway I don't agree with. But I said, I think he's right when he said, courage is grace under pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is that grace? That grace is Reiki. That's because none of us are out there living smooth. Nobody's doing that. With social media, you're looking like, oh, their life is perfect. No, it's not. They're just showing you the good parts. So, but it's having that grace, because you feel the pressure, and the pressure mainly comes from yourself.
Doesn't
and
it?
Society, but the biggest comes from yourself.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, at least for people like us, I'm sure. But no, I think that's probably true for everybody. Don't you think?
I do.
We're the hardest on ourselves.
We're the hardest on ourselves. And you've done a lot of things that have required courage, Karen. Why don't you tell us some of those things? Because we've talked about a book, but there's a lot that you've overcome.
Yeah, but like I said, it was so much of, I raised a child by myself. That was terrifying. That was probably the most terrifying thing I've ever done. And like I said, I didn't take this big leap until he got a scholarship and he was on his way to
Right.
college. It wasn't a full ride, but he got a scholarship. And that it's like, okay, he can feed himself. It's going to be all right now. If I end up homeless, all the things that run through your mind, it's possible. I could end up homeless, right?
You
Pam, would you let me come live with you?
know I would. I've got lots of space
I'm
for
taking my room and then your little cabin there. No, but it's all those fears. But raising my child, I think and trying to start a business. So Pam, I think we became friends because you've been such a great mentor to me I didn't know anything about business. Like I can tell you about German romantic poetry, like profit and loss. I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't know how to network. I didn't know how to make a business. And Reiki, I just wanted to help people. And I live in Arkansas. If you can imagine, like this little woman running around, like, I have healing hands. Would you like some? Would you like some? And they're like, hell no, get away from me. No. Yeah. I didn't know how to do any of that. And still, I knew that because of Reiki, I knew that there was going to be some way. I just couldn't see how. And that's why I said also it's a process of you lean in and you move forward a little and something happens and then you go, oh, okay.
It's like a continuous process. You let
It's
go,
a continuous process.
you
Yeah.
listen, then you lean in.
And then you
Yeah.
let go of some other stuff
Yeah.
and listen and then go. And who knows? So I did have an office. I'd opened an office and I was teaching. And then when the pandemic hit, I'm like, great, now what? And then William said, we're going to teach online. I was like, that's partly why I quit teaching. I didn't want to teach online. And then it turns out that my business exploded because now I'm teaching online and the classes to me are better, which totally surprised me.
Totally surprised me too.
I did not see that one coming.
Me neither. And that took a lot of courage, even for us to lean. I was terrified of technology.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That took courage.
Terrified of technology and to start teaching online. And it's one of the best things that's ever, all of the things that took courage in my life have wound up being the best thing to ever happen to me. I even go back to meeting my husband and just that relationship that it takes courage. I look at that now. I look at people who are divorced or who are dating and I think, oh my goodness, that takes so much courage. I don't know. I
haven't found that courage yet.
I had enough courage for that in my 20s, but I don't know if I would have enough courage to do that now. But I even think about how much courage it takes to trust another person that much, to go into a relationship. And when I did have that courage back in my late 20s, when my husband and I met, and just the amount of courage it took to step into that relationship. And it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. The courage to have children with such an uncertain future around us and stepping in and it happens anyway. And I look at Reiki, and when Reiki entered my life and started guiding, it starts guiding us, doesn't it? And I decided to surrender to the guidance of Reiki. I said, Reiki, you can have the big picture, and I just know what's happening to me right now, today, and what's happening in the world. I know just a snippet of what's happening in the world. Why don't you lead and I'll follow? And I decided to go the way of Reiki. William Rand calls it the way of Reiki, letting Reiki lead. And I find it keeps leading us into these opportunities to show real courage.
And that is real courage to follow, because I couldn't surrender. That's why I said the first step is the letting go. You're right. Yeah. And then when you dropped on my head too many times that I just couldn't. But Reiki, it was like chiseling those walls down slowly. And some people, I think, but once you get to that point where you do let Reiki lead, like you said, and you go, okay, so faith and courage are
they're pretty hand in hand, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And it seems to lead to the best things in
Mm.
our lives, but it does seem to take us someplace uncomfortable to do it. Like, I think of everything that Reiki has led me to. I remember saying I will never teach. And now I love teaching. I remember how terrified of teaching online. I remember how nervous I was to apply for the licensed teacher
Oh,
program.
me too. I
Yeah.
remember telling Karen Harrison, I said, "Oh, I'm going to flunk the psychological test. I'm crazy," or just I'm not going to. What I just had, yeah. But
There's
that's the best thing I did.
the best thing I do. Aside from my husband and the children, the licensed teacher program is the best thing I did. And actually, since we're talking about that, in addition to putting a link to your article on courage, I think I'll put a link to my article on becoming a licensed teacher.
Yes.
And just in case some people are getting that little nudge as we talk about that. And so it's so interesting when you do use your steps, when you let go of where you are. And you really do have to let go of where you are to get to where you're going, don't
Mm-hmm.
you?
Yeah.
And then you listen to where you're going and then you lean in
Lean in and just follow it.
and
Yeah.
just it occurs to me that Reiki's guidance has never steered me wrong. Has it ever?
Yeah. No, and that's what I think I said at the end of the article with the leaning in, that it becomes a process. So when you hit something and it gets easier and faster, and you're like, okay, no, that's my mom. That's just society telling me blah, blah, blah. And then you listen, and then there's no all the anxiety goes away once you listen and you go, oh, okay. You call it like a nudge because you're so good. You've been doing it long enough. I'm not going to say like you're good at it. So people who are listening, the more self Reiki you do, the more you work with the energy, it gets faster.
Hmm.
So you'll get like a nudge, or you'll go like, oh, should I do this? And you'll hear like a very clear yes or a no. And then you're not staying up all night going, did I make the right decision? Gee, I don't know. Because it's just, okay, yeah,
That's
yeah,
true. You
I'm
say
doing
that.
this. And then you do it. And it
Well,
looks like courage, but it's really just
stepping in,
stepping into to
leaning,
your own power, to your own heart space, and just going. Yeah.
and it's not easy to do. It's not easy to step into.
Simple, but not easy.
And we should be clear too, Karen. We said you hear yes or no, and that hearing sounds like a lot of different things. Like it
Oh,
might
thank you. Yeah.
knowing in your body. You might actually hear a yes or a no if you're
I'm
clairaudient.
clairaudient, you can tell.
So you actually hear it. For me,
Yeah.
I feel it. I'm clair and I have clair empathy. So for me, it's just a feeling. I get a feeling of mm-hmm or
My
mm-mm.
son does that. We do that, and I'll say how, because he feels it in his stomach.
I do too.
He'll be like, he goes, mm-hmm, or, and he will literally, he'll go, and that's how he knows. And I've taught him, I said, so listen to that, son, because you're always right. When you're getting, mm-mm. And he used to do that when he was younger too. I'd say, you want to go to this? He'd go, mm-mm. And because he didn't, I'm sure I messed him up in all other kinds of ways, but he's pretty in touch with
He's a pretty good kid. I
like
can
this, these are
tell.
my feelings. So and this is what I'm passing on to, I'm hoping your listeners are getting, like, you just have to get quiet, and then you give yourself Reiki, clear off whatever you need to, listen, and then listen. And it may be like, no, that's not it.
And if you're feeling fear, it's that recognition that the fear is blocking you from love. So it doesn't mean, fear doesn't mean you shouldn't do something. Fear means it's important to you and it's
Yeah.
important to your path, isn't it? Like, I really feel, I know that I just wrote the book. I know that listeners are just getting out there and reading it. And by the way, anybody who sends a review through Amazon, thank you. Or through whatever, wherever you got it, that's appreciated. But I really believe it's going to help people. And so I feel that it was important, but goodness, looking back at how frightened I was at so many of the steps. And then I had to learn, I had to write it, then I had to learn to edit it and to publish.
You learned like new software. You had to learn. That's the thing. When you really start following your path, that's what I meant when I said like you're going to hit something.
Yeah,
It's ever simple. And you go, oh, I don't know how to do this, and then you just listen again. You go, oh, okay,
yeah,
and you'll get it.
yeah.
I don't. You learned a lot doing that book.
I learned a lot, and now just before the podcast with Karen is we work together so well, and you're the best editor I ever could have hoped for, and I so appreciated you working through helping me through my panic attacks and all of that, like when I was not working against deadlines and and just helping when I was so last minute with things at times. And yeah, I said at the beginning, I said, you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but I'm sending a book proposal for my animal communication book in a couple of weeks.
But you've already learned a lot. The second one will be simpler.
But that's how I feel. Like I think about what a huge obstacle it was to write that first book proposal. And now the second one, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I know how.
That's how it works. That's what I want your listeners to know is that when you step into what you're supposed to be doing, what your heart says for you to do, it gets easier to do the next right thing, as Oprah says. What's the next right thing that I'm here to do? Yeah. And I think that's the key to living an authentic life and to being happy. Not that it's going to be easy and perfect all the time, which would be boring anyway. Admit it. It'd be boring if everything was perfect all the time. But it's exciting. So I think that's why. And I came from such a mess. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be 59 this year. Yes. That's the other thing. Like you realize I don't have a whole lot of time left. I better like get serious about what am I here to do after all? Because I don't think grading essays was it. I was good. I was good at that. But see, what the key was, I realized the best part of my job and where I really was in my authentic self was when students were in my office asking for help about a paper, and then I have no boundaries. I'd be like, okay, we got to find what you have to say. So I just jump right in. So were you ever sexually molested as a child? Or I would just dive right in there, and they'd go, actually, yeah, how'd you know? So that was really, healing was my passion and my path the whole time, even when I was teaching English. No, this is an introductory adverb clause, and you always place a comma after an introductory adverb clause. I mean, that really wasn't what I was here to do.
Although I'm happy that you can do that.
Yeah. And so I guess what I'm saying to your listeners is that you have things that you're doing that you're good at, but it's not, you'll feel this pit in your stomach of there's got to be more. This is not my heart. There's got to be more. Or you'll get a little bit of working with students who come back and say, like a couple of years later, like, Miss Caig, you changed my life. No, I didn't. But then they'll tell me the story, like when you told me blah, 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 blah in your office, then I went and did it. And I was like, oh, hell, I guess I did. You know, that we're all here. What does Ram Dass say? We're just all walking each other home. But it's when I was in my authentic space. That's when I was doing the best work. And so what was my point? There was a point.
I think, Karen, it's just to move into that authentic space. And here's a question for you. How do you get there? Because it's been my experience that it's often been what I resisted the most or what frightened me the most. So by looking at what am I afraid of, that's even with taking on the government. And I wound up not getting fired, but I wound up with a promotion eventually when I came back I had to take my maternity leave early so that I didn't get fired. And that worked out. It was nice. to have that time with it was my second child, so it was nice to have time with my first before the second came along. But I was afraid of losing the farm and losing my job and not having my profession and purpose. And yet I wound up being named the Outstanding Young Agrologist for Canada for doing that. And not only that, but I felt that our province was left a much safer place, and my colleagues were able to remain in service in work that they were very passionate about. But I was sure you're really afraid.
Yeah, I think what if listeners are wondering, like, how do you know? It's when you see something or you hear something and you get a little bit of excitement, which is immediately followed by a crushing, you can't do that. That you're not good enough, or that's too scary, or that's dumb, or that's crazy, but it always starts with that, like, probably with yours, you probably felt, oh my God, that's terrible. But then you're like, what if we tell people about it? You get that. And then you probably get, but then I could lose the farm and I could lose my job and I could lose this. But that's when it's important. So when there's it's precipitated by this excitement, but then a crushing, no, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. Then that's probably what you need to be doing. Yeah.
Love that. Well, and Karen, you actually have some specific things that our listeners can do to help.
Yes, I wanted to just remind people. So I say, you've got Reiki, use your Reiki, but you may be thinking, like, how? What specifically? So I thought, okay, so if you're listening and you're a level 2 Reiki practitioner, if you're level 1, well, you just give yourself Reiki when you are feeling that fear and that doubt and that you can't do that and you're too dumb and oh my gosh, you must have lost your mind. You can just give yourself, if you're level 2, remember with Reiki, it's all about your intention. And then you have different frequencies of Reiki. The higher you go, the more Reiki you study and get attuned to. So if you're level 2, you could start by using the power symbol. Use the power symbol and intend that it is powering you up. It is grounding you. It is connecting you to the Reiki energy, to the earth, and connecting you to yourself. You're powered up, that you're grounded. And then add in the mental emotional symbol with the intention that you are bringing yourself into harmony, your human panicked self with your higher divine self. You're coming into harmony and you're releasing all of that panic and that doubt, and set that intention. Use the distance symbol to connect to your higher self, to connect to the Reiki energy and ask for guidance. Help me find the right way. What's the next right step? That's probably the best you can do with Reiki too. If you've got just the Usui master symbol or the Holy Fire master symbol, use it to, its best qualities are purification. Ask like just purify me. I want you to just peel off all of these voices of doubt that are not mine. They're coming from my teachers, from my colleagues, my friends, my parents. I want you to just purify, peel that away. I want you to heal that part of me that thinks it's not good enough. And I want you to empower me to fulfill my divine purpose on earth. And I want you to guide me, because that's what the Holy Fire master symbol is about: purification, healing, empowerment, and guidance. And ask it specifically to help you find the courage to follow your heart. And if you've got the Usui master symbol, it means, can I say what it means?
Yeah.
That's pretty, it means the treasure house of the great beaming light. So use that to manifest your dreams on earth. Use that to remind yourself that you are the treasure house of the great beaming light, and to use that to push out everything else that's not your true path. If you've got Karuna, There's a specific karuna symbol for healing past life issues, things that may be causing you to doubt what you're doing, that you can use karuna symbols that are good for unconscious patterns that where you are sabotaging yourself. Pam's helped me with that a lot. You self-sabotage. So there's a specific symbol for that. You can use.
There's actually a symbol for courage and to develop new habits.
Yes. And there's another one for determination and completion of a goal. You can use, there's a specific karuna symbol to claim your power, to step into your power. For peace. And to heal like any fear or panic that you're feeling when you're trying to move toward your goal. And there's another one for like specifically for grounding you.
Yeah.
And manifesting goals. So you have all of those. And of course you have the animal Reiki symbol, which is, that has been, of course, I think that may be my favorite. I don't know. It's so for me, it's so grounding to me. And I think, Pam, a long time ago, you told me, I think when I first took the class, you said, I think that for you specifically, this is going to have to do with abundance, like the great, and it does. And ask, so give yourself that symbol and ask for the abundance that you are here to manifest on earth. Because we're all here to do something. We just have to have the courage to step into it. But that's what this is about. Like, how do you do that? So use all of those.
Yeah, I love that, Karen. And what are some of the things that you're needing to have courage to step into now? Where is this all leading you now?
Me, I think specifically what terrifies me is creating a coaching program. A life coaching program, because I love Reiki and that will be part of it. But I know that looking back, I've overcome some stuff. I've walked that rocky road, and I know where all the big like manholes that you're going to fall into and things you're going to trip on. I think that I could be a good guide. I know how to ask the right questions to help people get to, and I'm thinking women specifically, because I think I know. I know I'm here to help women because some of the things I've overcome are specific to women. We have a little bit different path. And I raised a son. I said, this is God's little joke that I was given a son to raise. And he's a pretty big feminist, actually. But I know that we have different, not worse or better, but we have different problems than men to overcome. And I really want to be a life coach. I said it out loud. So see, this is what I'm talking about. You say it out loud, and then you go, boom, those voices come in and go, life coach, well, hell, you can't even run your own life. What makes you think you can coach somebody else? All of that pops up. But I know when I get quiet, that's what I'm here to do at this point in my life. Since I'm 59, about to be 60, I've learned some stuff and I can help. But yeah, that's where I'm going. And it does terrify me, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know it's right.
I love it. And I said to you before this, I said, I think I'm going to use this topic. This is perfect to tell the listeners where Reiki is guiding me that terrifies me. And, or I don't know if it terrifies me, but it definitely makes me uncomfortable. And I've been guided to enter politics to an extent and work with the Green Party of our province, which is all about the environment. And a lot of people are aware that the environment is very important to me. Mm-hmm. And a little over 2 years ago now, the energy nudged me and said, you're to run for the Green Party. You're going to run for politics. And I grew up in a political family, so I'm very aware of, I'm not naive about politics. I know it's very hard work. I know that a lot of people get into the political life in order to help, but find their hands tied once they get into it, or it's it's very difficult and very demanding work, and it's not always successful. People are not always successful. I know that any politicians that I've met have usually got into it for the right reasons, but then got worn out in the process. And yet Reiki said that this was what I was to do. And I said, okay, right now? And it said no, but it showed like in the 2024 election. And this winter, I was reading a wonderful book called The Stubborn Optimist's Guide to the Environmental Crisis.
I love that.
It is a wonderful book. I'll put a link to it in the podcast notes, because it was actually written by a politician, an incredible woman who helped put together the Paris Accord to try and bring things together for the environment. And my daughter had given it to me, actually. It's my daughter's book, and she had recommended it. And one of the questions was, at the end of the day, are you able to say that you did everything you could? Now, this was specific to the environment, but I think that it leads to our question, what are you passionate about? I'm passionate about the environment. And Reiki had me read this book and think, at the end of the day, can I say that I did everything I could? And I had to look at it and say, no, I haven't. So I did get in touch with the Green Party. They are excited about the potential for me running in my region in the 2024 election. I probably am going to start a podcast for them just to help feature some of the issues, because they don't always make it into the mainstream news. And podcast is a wonderful way to do that. And I was scared to start a podcast, but
I was going to say.
That was another thing Reiki had me do way back a couple of years ago, and I was nervous to do that. And now we're coming up to a year and a half worth of hundreds of episodes or of the podcast. I think at this point, my husband said, "Do you even know how many episodes you've published?" And I said, "Actually, I don't. I'm gonna have to look that up. I know it's more than 75 because they sent me a note a while ago. Hey, you've published 75 podcasts." And so, yeah, that's where Reiki is leading me. And one of the things that I want the listeners to know is that when you have Reiki, you also have Reiki as a tool to help you face those things. So, one of the things Reiki showed me is that Reiki taught me how to write with a lot of love. Like, I used to write just to out of fear and to get essays done for university and that sort of thing. And Reiki showed me how to approach it differently with love, so that actually, as I wrote the Reiki Business Book, I wrote it thinking about the people who would benefit from it. And
That's why it's so easy to read, really. It's because it's like a conversation.
And that's what it felt like as I wrote it. It felt like I was sitting down with somebody really important and telling them, like, okay, here's something that can help you with your business. And I know you're stuck here, but here's what can help you, or here's what can bring more meaning to your life if you can incorporate Reiki into your job in sales or in real estate or as a doctor or as a researcher or whatever you do. Here's what can,
or a politician.
or a politician. Oh my gosh, I totally missed that.
That's what I was thinking as you were talking, the whole thing, the podcasting and everything. It's like everything that you've been doing in your whole life has just is leading you to this.
I think it really is. And it's important to me. I'm not giving up doing Reiki. It's just buying the summer home in Campobello. It's not because I'm getting rid of the horses. It's an expansion. And I'm not giving up doing Reiki. That's still really important to me. And this podcast will continue. And connecting people with their purpose. That's what I love to do. And that's what Reiki helps me do. But it really does feel like I need to also take these steps for the environment. And that's what Reiki said. It said, look, you know what politics looked like before Reiki. And it said, just like you knew what writing looked like before Reiki, but look at what it looked like after Reiki. And it's true, like I saw that transformation. So I didn't want to be a licensed teacher. I really resisted that. I was afraid of that. And it's been so positive. And that's the other thing. Reiki said, I know you don't want to be a politician, but you didn't want to be a licensed teacher. And look how well that turned out.
Yeah. Pam, I hate to say it, but I think we're reaching the age where we have to step into those more leadership roles. Even so, at our age, we may not feel like we are truly like the wise women. But yeah, you're perfect as a Green Party candidate to help the environment. That's the apex of everything that you do, like the healing and it brings all of your skills together. And then this is what, and then I'm realizing that some of the stuff I used to do, that's for younger women to do. That's for younger people to do. But we have a unique role that we can fill. And like you said, we know it's the right one because it's scary, or you have doubts, or you have, so that's where you're supposed to go.
Where you're supposed to go, I think. I love it. Karen, you've got a meditation, I think, that's going to help those of us who
I do have it's a short guided meditation I'd like to do with everyone.
Wonderful.
So let's go ahead and think about if you've got something that you already know, that there's something you want to do, and you may not have even said it out loud to anybody, but think of something that you would like to do, but you just don't have the courage to do it yet. And if you don't, if you're sitting listening to this podcast and you're like, I don't even know what it is I want, then ask for that. Ask for guidance on that. So if you have Reiki, put your hands in the Gasho, activate your Reiki, close your eyes, and begin with some deep breaths, deep belly breaths. And with each breath in, feel that you are breathing in the light of Reiki. And as you exhale, you are releasing all the tension in your body. And just continue with your deep belly breaths and let your body relax. Place your hands somewhere comfortable on your body and give yourself Reiki. And I want you to imagine that you're walking on a smooth stone path. And it's a beautiful sunny day at just the right temperature for you. And there's a light breeze blowing, inviting you to relax and breathe deeply. And as you walk along, you realize this path is familiar to you. It's smooth, cool, and clean. And you seem to remember walking here sometime before. You pass flowering shrubs and trees along the path, and you recognize them as your favorites from childhood. You can smell the earth and the fragrance of the flowers, and the energy of this special place seems to rise up through the bottoms of your feet, grounding and energizing you. As you walk along, you notice a smaller trail connecting to the stone path. You feel compelled to follow this grassy trail. And as you follow it, you realize you have been here before as well, a long time ago. You continue along the path, curving to the right, and you remember with each step that you have been here before, even though the trees, the plants and flowers are quite different from those along the stone path that you've always walked before. Up ahead, you see a cave with a heart-shaped entrance at the edge of the grassy path. It's dark inside the cave, but not scary. You can see a glowing light where some light comes in somewhere at the top of the cave. You venture into the cave and you feel secure and at peace. You can hear the sound of dripping water. And as your eyes adjust, you notice a small pool has formed below the opening in the ceiling of the cave. As you approach the pool of water, you can see by the light streaming in from above that water is peacefully trickling down the wall of the cave and into the pool. It comes from some unknown source, and it's warm when you bend down and dip your hands into it. As you're gazing into the pool, you notice the light from above is reflecting off of something shiny in the water. As you reach your hand toward it, you see it is a beautiful small box. As you pull it from the water, you realize it looks familiar somehow. You slowly open the box. Inside the box, you find a special message just for you. You left it here a long time ago for yourself. You knew you would return here to find it. Read the message you left for yourself. Hold it to your heart. Hear it. Feel it. Now put all the feelings that may have come up when you read the message, all the negative voices in your mind telling you can't achieve what you want. Take them and close them up in the box and return the box to the water, knowing that all the negativity and all the limiting beliefs will be transformed in this water, in this magical cave. Stand up, hold your message, say thank you to yourself for taking this journey, and know that you can return to this special place anytime you need to find a message from your higher self, anytime you need guidance or support. Now take your message and step out of the comforting dim light of the cave back onto the grassy trail. Follow it back to the stone path, but instead of retracing your steps, turn to the right and continue to walk along the stone path. After a while, you realize you've come to an open circle of stones with paths that lead back to where you started or off in many other new directions. You realize you can choose following your own heart. Now take a couple of deep breaths. Bring your awareness to your eyes and slowly open your eyes and come back. And I hope you will write your message down or that you won't forget it.
Thank you, Karen. That went really deep, and I think I'll need to write that to process it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
I just want to thank you for being here with us today and for sharing that and for having the courage to step out and be a life coach for people, and especially women who've overcome difficult circumstances, trauma, and so on that you've overcome, and being able to use Reiki for that. And I want to thank all the listeners for considering stepping into your true path and for being open to using your own courage to step forward and begin doing what's important to you. I wish you the best of luck as you do that, and we both send you Reiki blessings. Namaste.
Thank you.